Hi, this is Chuck Martin. I'm at the AI Summit London. I'm happy to say I have with here Christyl Johnson, Deputy Center Director for Technology and Research Investment at the NASA Goddard Flight Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So you just came off the main stage here, did the opening keynote. You had like 1,000 people, standing room only. Tell me what you talked to the audience about.
Oh, I talked to them about sustaining or harnessing technology to have sustainable human presence on Mars. We as a global community, over 40 countries at this point in time, have signed the Artemis Accords. We are all going together back to the moon to use the moon as a proving ground to test out technologies and capabilities, including AI applications, to be able to have ultimate destination or go to our ultimate destination of Mars. That's going to be amazing.
So where does AI fit on Mars?
Oh my goodness, in so many different areas. As we think about food, having sustainable food and advanced agriculture, working with the farms. Today, right now, we have advanced farming technologies and tools. The equipment that we use is all becoming digital. Imagine if we have a constellation of satellites that are looking at the constellation has different elements. Each element is looking at the soil moisture or the air in the environment, the clouds, storm information, all of those things. If you could actually take all of those data sets from the individual missions and combine them to get a holistic view of what you're looking at, you can do so much more. And you have to have AI and machine learning to be able to tie those data sets together. Then when it comes to the moon and Mars, we have the sun that actually has solar flares that kind of spits out radiation, gamma rays, and all these dangerous things into the environment. It will kill humans if you're not protected from it. And right now we have several missions that have decades of data that are studying the sun. If we want to be able to predict how quickly one of those coronal mass ejections or solar flares is going to hit humans on the surface, we need to understand the mechanisms of that so we can predict it. Because you can't predict something you don't understand. So taking AI and machine learning and diving through all of that data and making connections so that you can say, when this happens with the sun, we can predict that you're going to have about this amount of time before it reaches us. And we can predict that it's going to have this intensity. So now maybe you might have to go deeper underground to protect you from those types of things. Lots of information.
So at NASA, I mean, you're dealing with Mars and you're dealing with the reality of today. How do you balance the short-term objectives or the short-term things that people are looking at NASA with going to Mars?
Yeah, so what's most important for us is to protect the Earth, or protect us here on this Earth. But we want humans to be able to thrive right here, not just survive. And so that's the most important part of what we look at in the science world for NASA. In the aeronautics side, it's helping with the aircraft, helping to get quieter jet engines, working with air traffic control and making sure we master that. For air traffic control right now, you have all of these planes flying around, but we're going to have lots of drones and smaller things in the air. And not long from now, people are already applying for flying taxis in different cities. So if you have flying taxis, you've got drones, you've got aircraft, and all of these different things swarming, how are we going to fix those kind of things? And you apply all of that to going someplace else.
So how do you manage expectations? Because going to Mars is not happening next week.
No.
So how do you?
Or next year.
But people have expectations because of everything that goes off the hype cycle.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
I think we really help people to understand the truth behind what is going to be necessary. There are risks that have to be addressed. There are technologies that have to be developed in order for us to be able to protect humans living on Mars. It's a very, very harsh environment. So educating people about what it's really going to take in order to make that happen helps a lot when it comes to setting expectations. But also, the financial part of it is a big deal. Making sure that you're able to communicate to people the return on the investment for making the small investments we have to make today and the long-term investments that are needed, because you can't just say we're going to invest in something for 1 year and be done with it. You got to get commitments for multi-year investments in order to make those kind of things happen.
So in your keynote, you talked about AR and VR,
Yeah.
and new technologies come along like ChatGPT,
Yes.
generative AI. When those things come along, which could be game changing,
Yeah.
how do you incorporate that? How does NASA look at that?
Okay, so that is something, so I'm leading the technology work stream for our agency as we think about the vision for 2040 and how we get the agency working better digitally. When it comes to ChatGPT and Copilot and things like that, I'm very, very excited about infusing all of that into NASA. However, for NASA, the most important piece of all of this is security, because we've got human lives at risk, and so you can't, when you have AI and machine learning, you have to actually let the AI learn from information. So if NASA puts its information into the machine for it to start learning, that information becomes available to everybody in the public that's asking questions about that. That information, and much of that information, you don't want out there for the public, and you don't want anyone to be able to manipulate that information to feed false information into the system. You need a source of truth, a North Star for information for us. So it really needs to be a secure environment where you're using those kind of tools, and that's a real challenge at this point in time.
How do you balance the stakeholders? You've got the government,
Yeah.
you've got NASA itself,
Yeah.
You've got private companies.
Yeah.
How do you balance all that? Because everybody wants something from you or NASA.
Yeah, so I think the most important part of it is helping everyone to understand the significant contributions and the role that they could play in that. This cannot be put on the shoulders of the government. It cannot. It cannot be put in the hands of just private industry. It must be something that we work very, very closely together to do. Elon Musk has worked with NASA for a long, long, long time. And we as a NASA has invested a lot of money in order for our space community to be where it is today. And so that would not have happened if there hadn't been people working very closely together. So the expectation setting is bringing academia in, bringing private industry in, bringing government in, and all working together.
So last question, a year from now, we're sitting here talking about the future.
Yeah.
What will we be talking about?
So a year from now, we will be talking about the fact that we are about to actually send humans at the end of next year to the moon again. And so that'll be the first time for humans to go back, at least in our Artemis Accords, all of the folks that are on the team for the Artemis Accords, to be able to go back. But then we're also going to be talking about some additional advancements that have been made and being able to develop constellations of missions that can integrate in a way that help us have a holistic picture of things.
Well, I look forward to that conversation. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. This is Chuck Martin at the AI Summit London.